Hey, how you doing, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Hockey on the Spot with Brandon Barenfeld. I'm Brandon Barenfeld. Thank you for joining me. This is episode 41 of Hockey on the Spot. I hope everybody had a decent enough 9/11. Once again, God rest the souls of those who passed in the tragedy. Um, but that did not stop a lot of stuff from happening in the NHL. Training camp has officially begun. For most of the teams, it began yesterday, but there were a few teams that began today. We'll talk about that as we go along. There's been a lot going on in the past few days, so I'll try to get through that quickly so that I can talk about Group B of the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. So let's get right to it. Starting with a training camp invite by the Winnipeg Jets. They invited defenseman Ian White from the Detroit Red Wings, a guy who had a rough year last year, but the year prior was one of the best defensemen in the league as far as plus minus and is a solid two-way player. So good move for them. Hopefully he makes it. Three invites by the Anaheim Ducks: Garnet Exelby, Tegan Zahn, and Maxim Sauve. Don't know too much about Tegan Zahn or Maxim Sauve, but I know Garnet Exelby very well. Very physical defenseman. Know him very well from when he used to play for the Atlanta Thrashers. He was one of their top four at one point, but he's really fallen out of many systems for a while now. But when he plays with an edge, and he's a shutdown defenseman. So he probably won't make it any higher than the American Hockey League, but still, good player. Also, a couple of deals have finally been settled. Nazem Kadri of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Cody Hodgson of the Buffalo Sabres. Cody Hodgson signs a 6-year contract extension with the Buffalo Sabres, so they get him locked up long term. And Nazem Kadri signs just a 2-year deal, so they get him to a bridge deal because of the Leafs cap situation. They still got to get Cody Franson signed, but again, Nazem Kadri, a very valuable part of this Toronto team. He was the second on the team in points last year behind Phil Kessel. And then you have Cody Hodgson, who's developing into a nice top six center. So there you go there. Um, Now the only names left available: Cody Franson, Alex Pietrangelo, Jared Cowan, and Derek Stepan. Those are the only big restricted free agents left standing. So hopefully a deal can get done with them. Um, um, then also another training camp invite. The Pittsburgh Penguins invite forward Chuck Kobasu from the Colorado Avalanche, a former top draft pick. Um, a guy who's mostly considered a goal scorer but hasn't been the same player for a very long time. But hopefully he could get some work going in Pittsburgh because they could use a guy like him, as they absolutely need depth in their bottom six, and a guy who could also be potential in the top six. So also a 2-year contract extension for Vice President and General Manager Stan Bowman of the Chicago Blackhawks. So glad to get him signed up. Big reason for winning the two cups in 2010 and 2013. So that's big. Florida Panthers also making some noise. In addition to inviting veteran goaltender Tim Thomas to training camp, which I talked about yesterday, they have also stretched an invite out to goaltender Ilya Bryzgalov, who, as we know, who was bought out by the Philadelphia Flyers via compliance buyout, that 9-year, $51 million deal. So hopefully for the Florida Panthers, one of those two attends and one of those two gets signed by the Panthers, and hopefully the other one gets signed maybe by the Calgary Flames. So we'll see about that. And the teams that just began training camp today that I wanted to talk about: the Carolina Hurricanes, the Dallas Stars, the Florida Panthers, the Los Angeles Kings, the Minnesota Wild, the Nashville Predators, the Philadelphia Flyers, the San Jose Sharks, the St. Louis Blues, and the Washington Capitals. Those teams just began training camp today. Every other team began yesterday. So that's big. Also, another little rule change that all GMs are trying to push for: the possibility of turning 4-on-4 overtime, 5-minute 4-on-4 overtime into 10-minute 3-on-3 overtime, which I think would be very interesting for the game. So we'll see how that goes about. Also, another big little bit of news, the New York Rangers have invited ex-New Jersey Devils goaltender Johan Hedberg to training camp on a pro tryout contract. This is really interesting. Again, he's played for the Devils for the past few years, so we saw Ryan Clough go from the New York Rangers to the New Jersey Devils, and now, in a sense, we see Johan Hedberg going to the going from the New Jersey Devils to the New York Rangers, at least for training camp. So this is a guy who could definitely battle out Marty Biron for the backup job for Henrik Lundqvist. Didn't really help the Devils out a whole lot when Marty Brodeur got hurt last year. So we'll see how that works out. He's one of the oldest goaltenders in the National Hockey League. He's like a year older than Marty Biron, or a couple of years older. So we'll see how that works out. We will see how that works out. Kyle Wellwood turns down a training camp invite from the San Jose Sharks and has signed with Zug of the Swiss League. I'm a little shocked by that. So I am really, really shocked by that. So hopefully the Sharks will get by that, because he did play for the Sharks at one time. So we'll see how that works out. I hope all goes well for him. Also, the trade deadline has been announced for this year, March 5th, 2014 at 3 o'clock p.m. That will be the trade deadline, exactly 1 week after the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi. So good there. Also, in other news, the Toronto Maple Leafs seem to be closing in on a deal with Cody Franson. So we'll see how that works out. Hopefully that'll get done soon. I would really like to see them sign him. Also, big news. Defenseman Joni Pitkanen has announced that he will be done for the rest of the season. He will be out for the entire season, as he and the Carolina Hurricanes have announced, which means his career could be in jeopardy. In result, they have officially signed former Winnipeg Jets defenseman Ron Hainsey to a 1-year contract. So big loss for the Carolina Hurricanes, but they'll put him on long-term injured reserve, and they may actually still, surprisingly, even with the signing of Hainsey, still have some money to maybe go out and get a guy like Brendan Morrow. But this really does put a damper on things for the Carolina Hurricanes. I did predict them to be a playoff team, but now you got to wonder, because Joni Pitkanen was a big part of that team, and without him, they could be in some trouble on defense. Also, some other big news. We originally thought that Dan Cleary had officially signed with the Philadelphia Flyers. That is no longer the case. Things fell through between him and the Flyers because of family issues. Instead, he has, surprisingly enough, re-signed with the Detroit Red Wings. A 1-year deal, though. So this could be his last year with the Wings. But now the Wings really over the cap. So, hopefully they can get that figured out at some point. Some other big news, one that I personally am really happy to have here. On October 13th, 2013, the Anaheim Ducks will play the Ottawa Senators in somewhat of a 2007 Stanley Cup rematch. But for this particular game, they will be bringing back the old Anaheim Mighty Duck jerseys, at least for one night. And hopefully maybe they'll do it again for the Stadium Series against the Los Angeles Kings at Dodger Stadium. That would be interesting. If we saw that, we'd see the white jerseys for this night. We'll see the purple ones. But really happy to have that happen. I'm really happy to see this going down. I love the Mighty Ducks. I love the movies. I'm a big fan of those uniforms. Really happy to see them bringing back those jerseys at least for one night. So huge. Huge. Also, progress on the Barclays Center for the New York Islanders. The arena has been set for that preseason game against the New Jersey Devils. So they're basically ready to move into their new building in a couple of years, and we have an idea of what the building will look like in a couple of years as well. So that is huge and big for the New York Islanders. Damian Brunner, one of the top unrestricted free agents, turned down an offer from Zug of the Swiss League. Has been in heavy talks with the New Jersey Devils, Dallas Stars, and Vancouver Canucks. So hopefully he can get a contract somewhere soon. Things going a little slower than anticipated with him. Another turn down. Forward Andrei Loktionov turned down a $3 million contract offer from the KHL before re-signing a one-year contract with the New Jersey Devils worth $725K. Shows that he wants to play in the NHL. So that is big. Overall, so far, all of the training camp invites. Another one, goaltender Alan York will attend the Nashville Predators training camp. So all of the training camp invites so far are of course the most recent one. All the training camp invites so far for the Anaheim Ducks: Garnet Exelby, Ty Gonzan, and Maxim Sauve. For the St. Louis Blues, Ryan Whitney. For the Montreal Canadiens, Matt Lashoff. For the Phoenix Coyotes, Guillaume Latendresse and Gilbert Brule. For the Calgary Flames, Steve Bejan. For the Philadelphia Flyers, Hal Gill. For the Carolina Hurricanes, Radek Dvorak. For the New York Islanders, Radek Martinek. For the Winnipeg Jets, Ian White. For the Los Angeles Kings, Matthew Guerin. For the Toronto Maple Leafs, Mason Raymond. For the Florida Panthers, Brad Boyes and Brett Clark. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, Chuck Kobasu. For the Nashville Predators, Simon Moser, Vinny Sapineri, Barry Almeida, Theo Ruth, and now, of course, the most recent one, goaltender Alan York. For the Buffalo Sabres, Colton Gillies. For the San Jose Sharks, Anthony Stewart. For the Minnesota Wild, David Steckel. And for the New York Rangers, Johan Hedberg. Those are all the pro tryout contracts so far that have been accepted, and all the signings that have happened since the Mikhail Bodker re-signing, since the Tom Kostopoulos signing in Pittsburgh. Marcus Johansson re-signs with the Washington Capitals. Michael Bodker re-signs with the Phoenix Coyotes. Martin Jones re-signs with the Los Angeles Kings. Nazem Kadri re-signs with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Cody Hutchison re-signs with the Buffalo Sabres. Dan Cleary re-signs with the Detroit Red Wings. And Ron Hainsey signs with the Carolina Hurricanes, coming over from the Winnipeg Jets. So those are all of the updates for today. I don't think we're going to really have the time to get into our Olympic talk today, and I'm not going to be able to get through all that in exactly 7 minutes. So what we're going to do is, for tomorrow's video, I'm going to talk about both Group B and Group C in 1 or 2 videos. So we'll talk about those tomorrow. Don't want to talk about any of that on the day of the that the preseason starts. Won't be able to. There will be no video on September 14th because that is Yom Kippur and I have family coming over. So this will be it for today's video. That'll do it for episode 41 of Hockey on the Spot. This has been Hockey on the Spot with Brandon Barenfeld. I'm Brandon Barenfeld. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you and have a great day.